Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Yet again, another day living in white supremacy. Of course, cover-ups, fraudulent activity, theft, murder, mayhem, chaos, you absolutely name it. It's absolutely going on. It doesn't matter if it's the conservatives. It doesn't matter if it's the liberals, the Republicans, or the Democrats. In the system of white supremacy, the entire system is built on corruption and is corrupt. It doesn't even matter. But today, the FBI raid that occurred on Monday to former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, Fox News and their cronies and conservatives are stating that this is somehow some sort of fraudulent activity, that this wasn't sanctioned by any federal court or any federal mandate or any federal petition or warrant. But ladies and gentlemen, anytime the system of white supremacy implodes on itself, these are some of the activities that occur when the right side of white supremacy and the left side of white supremacy do not agree with one another. Now, it states here on Fox News, one of your most famous news agencies in the world, former President Trump on Wednesday said the FBI and Justice Department requested in June that his legal representatives requested that an extra lock be put on the door leading to the place where boxes were stored at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. Now, what they're trying to say here is that the FBI unofficially allowed Donald Trump to keep these 15 boxes of presidential records that's supposed to be at the National Archives, right? According to the Presidency Act, which you guys from 1978, that president's supposed to keep a track record of phone calls, emails, handwritten letters, you name it. They're supposed to leave it and secure it at the National Archives, not at your home. But this is what Fox News has posted on here. Who knows if it's true or not, but it's just beware, family, that a lot of scrutiny, a lot of lying, let me just keep it real, a lot of lying has been occurring through this whole ordeal. It doesn't matter if it's coming from the left or the right. You have to keep your hand on the necks of white supremacy, no matter the side. Because the day that you pick a side of white supremacy, whether it be liberals, conservatives, Democrats, or Republicans, that's the day that you will lose. Quite point blank simple. That's the day that you, essentially, our people will lose. And the one thing that you should be focusing on is them cutting the check. They want to keep your eyes off reparations. Do not take your eyes off reparations. Let me continue. It says here that we agree, Trump said in a post on Truth Social, they were shown the secured area and the boxes themselves. Then on Monday, without notification or warning, an army of agents broke into Mar-a-Lago, went into the same storage area and ripped open the lock that they had asked to be installed. A surprise attack, politics, and all the while our country is going to hell. This is what, Fox News chose as newsworthy to post on their site, which is not, because no one can actually account for this activity accounting. Where's the paperwork? Where's the audio tapes? Where's the evidence that the FBI was complicit of you holding federal presidential documents at your home? Okay, I'm no Trump supporter. I'm no Biden supporter. I just want to stay real neutral on this, because at the end of the day, this whole system is corrupt. And that is what you should keep your eyes on. Now, for a headline, Trump's legal team seeking court order forcing FBI/DOJ to hand over a physical copy of search warrant. You'll get a copy of that. I'm pretty sure you will. Nonetheless, let's move on. Now, this story is coming from NPR News, but there are some things I absolutely want to highlight. It says here that the raid concerned presidential records that Trump removed from the White House when he left office in January of 2021. I wonder why a former president will remove presidential documents, 15 boxes worth, and put them in a home that is one of your most famous, most popular home. Now, quite frankly, you had to know that was illegal. I'm pretty sure someone told you. And secondly, you dumb as hell from putting it in your most famous, more popularized home that even I knew about your home in Mar-a-Lago and the rest of the world, because anytime you took a vacation, you went to Mar-a-Lago. That was as dumb as hell. But anyway, we're talking about Donald Trump. Now, the FBI search warrant authorized agents to seize presidential records or any possible classified material, okay? And I'm talking about presidential classified material. They don't know if he took the damn old nuclear codes or anything, okay? Let's move on, because this is very interesting, okay? This is very interesting. I know Donald Trump gets praised as a business mogul, making great business decisions for the country, that if he was president right now, the country would not be in the state that we are in now. We are in a recession, as I've been saying since last year, okay? I don't know why all of a sudden, oh, we're in a recession. No, I've been saying this since last year. But nonetheless, now we're looking at President Trump in a different light, okay? Not just as a business mogul, not someone who made good business decisions and helped out the country, but essentially someone who stole presidential federal records, and he was supposed to. This is not what a president supposed to do. But again, Donald Trump is from a different breed. States here, but the search is likely related to the 15 boxes of presidential documents that were removed from Mar-a-Lago earlier this year by the National Archives and Records Administration. That is where the boxes should have been stored, not at your home. Now listen to this. This is coming from NPR. The records reportedly included correspondence between Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. I wonder. Along with a letter addressed to Trump written by outgoing President Barack Obama. I don't know what Obama said or what advice Obama could have gave to him, like, don't fuck this up. I don't know what he could have said to President Donald Trump, okay? I have no idea. Good evening, Jermaine Anderson. Now, let's move right along here. The question is, what would the FBI have needed to get a warrant? Let's break this down. Warrant indicates that federal authorities have evidence of ongoing criminal activity at the location where they intend to carry out the search. Federal agents seeking a warrant must provide an affidavit that contains details about exactly what material they expect to seize during the search and why they believe it is at the location subject to the warrant. Now, this is not related, and this is not in conjunction with January 6th. This may not even be in relation to steal the deal or steal whatever, that whole slogan that the GOP came out with, because they think that the liberals, aka Democrats, were trying to steal the election. It says here that a judge reviews the affidavit and signs off the warrant if they believe the details provided by the agents pass legal muster for probable cause, okay? So all of these things have to come together in order for this warrant to go out, not just a gang or a group of FBI agents showing at the home and then going inside and ripping up boxes and looking through evidence, or potential evidence, that is. But again, whatever happened to Back the Blue? What happened to Blue Lives Matter? Now you see the very same party. And don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the Democrats oppose defund the police. But now the GOP is coming out, who was very pro-police. They're coming out now saying defund the FBI. They don't want to use the term defund the police because they know that's going to encompass all law enforcement. So they kind of doing a direct attack against the FBI. But just like, the GOP attack wokeism or being woke and using woke as a coined term to label someone black, then guess what? FBI means law enforcement. Law enforcement is the police. So now the GOP is contradicting themselves when it comes to their great leader and cult leader, Donald Trump. Now we're talking about defund the police, are we not? Are we not talking about defund the police? The Federal Bureau of Investigators. Now we're talking about defund the police. But wait, there's more. Federal judge who approved the warrant, The raid likely needed signed off by the director of the FBI himself, Christopher Wray, who was appointed in 2017 by no other than Donald Trump. Additionally, because of the sensitivity, it's likely that the attorney, General Garland, was involved. A spokesperson for Garland and Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco declined to comment. Of course you declined to comment. You was probably complicit with this particular warrant going out to search his home in Mar-a-Lago for these federal documents that the former President Donald Trump should have never had in his home in the first place, okay? In the first place. Now, last but not least, Presidential Records Act. That's what we have to keep. This is a federal act that he essentially broken, okay? He broke this act. A 1978 law that requires presidents to preserve all historical relevant material from their time in office. Everything from phone logs and national security briefs to emails and handwritten notes, and then hand them over to the National Archives and record administration once they leave office. So as you're leaving office, you're supposed to be dropping these things off at the National Archives and not sending them to Florida to your Mar-a-Lago home, okay? And this for people who were talking about the great leader, Donald Trump, okay? For the people who wants to know, we're talking about the great leader, Donald Trump. Now, this is the rhetoric that's coming out from the left or the right. I get them mixed up. It don't really matter to me. But this is the rhetoric that's coming out now. Defund the police, defund the FBI. But we know defund law enforcement any times that you believe that the Republic is being attacked by your great leader who broke the law, who broke the Presidential Act of 1978. Here we go.
Alex, it's a very, very sad day for America. This is the kind of thing you expect to see in Soviet Russia, Nazi Germany, communist Cuba, but not what you would expect to see in the United States.
This is the worst attack on this republic in modern history, period.
This is some third world right here. Let me say it again, third world. I mean every word of that. I don't care that it's cable news. I was a federal agent. I raised my right hand. And I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And I love this country. This is a freaking disgrace.
This is the first time in my lifetime that I would say I am deathly afraid for Donald Trump. I would not put assassination behind these people.
What could they possibly think existed inside of Mar-a-Lago in a box that was taken from the White House that was so damaging that the FBI director and the Attorney General of the United States would have to raid a former president's residence and grab everything out of there?
I don't know. They'll probably find a note from me telling him how proud I am of him and what a great job he was doing as president. They might find something.
Family, do you hear this fool? He believes that his father, who really doesn't give him any recognition, had a letter from him in his safe at Mar-a-Lago of the great job he did as being president. Now listen to the rest of this bullshit.
Pictures of my kids, maybe some nice, headlines, maybe a nice note from you, Sean.
This is an abomination.
This is Gestapo crap.
It's probably the worst day in the history of the FBI.
This is a wake-up call for those in Congress to be able to use the tools at their disposal to defund the FBI, dismantle the FBI into 1,000 bits.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene simply tweeting, defund the FBI.
If this is what they're able to do to the former president of the United States, think about what they could do to you, to anybody in America.
The real target of this investigation isn't Trump. The real target of this investigation is you.
Do we have a dual justice system in America? Is there equal justice under the law?
I am deathly afraid for Donald Trump. I would not put assassination behind these people.
We're entering basically a Venezuelan, Zimbabwean, East German style banana republic in which the law doesn't matter.
This is some third world bullshit right here. Let me say it again, third world bullshit.
All right, family. So that's a tape here. And I see a comment here from Angry Conservative. Let's address this comment. He states that we want to defend the corruption that is in the FBI. It doesn't mean that we want to defund all police like you do when you say to defund the police. Now, that's a very directed comment. And I would like to know, whenever I said defund the police, I've never said defund the police. I believe that the country needs police, but we don't need race soldiers and thugs in blue and white supremacists with badges. So the terminology of defund the police have not came from my lips, but I do believe that we should decrease the police. Let's talk about that. Decrease the police. Let's decrease some of the funding with their military assault, not only weapons, but vehicles. But some people say, well, some of the criminals have assault weapons as well. Now, myself, I have an assault weapon. I have other firearms as well, because again, when things go down, everybody's going to have assault weapons. So we should all have assault weapons. Should we not, angry conservative? But here's the thing. Let's focus on what you stated about me talking about defund all police. Now, when the GOP, which you say you're angry conservative, so I would like to believe, and I'm assuming that you are a Republican, that you believe that in the sense of defund all police or defund the police in general, that this is differently from direct attacking the FBI. Well, let me ask you a question. Is an FBI agent a policeman? Is a CIA agent a policeman? Is a Homeland Defense agent a policeman? Because at the end of the day, you have state police, you have city police, you have local police, but nobody ever calls FBI agents the police. They're FBI agents. So when we're talking about defund the police, if you said that I said it, then defund the police means defund the police of those race soldiers, those thugs in blue, those thugs with badges, those honorary white supremacists who are going around killing and beating and trying to harm black people. Then we must be talking about the police and not agents of the federal government. I'm just asking a question. So you can respond, oh, you know what? I can do something even better than that. Let me stop sharing here. I can do something better than that. If you like to clarify, because I don't want to put words in your mouth, there's a link in the chat that you can join me here with or without your video, and we can have that discussion. Okay, Angry Conservative says, nope, most Republicans are just as corrupt as Democrats. Okay. Then he says here, tell me what is an assault weapon? What is an assault weapon? Okay. I mean, I'm not going to stoop that low. I'm a little petty, but we can go ahead and just Google that one. But anyway, Angry Conservative, you want to further the conversation, there's a link in the chat that you can join with and without your video, and you have any other comments that you want to make public, we can just have that discussion, and we can go kind of like the bullpen from, you know, the Young Turks or whatever. So if you want to just use it, I'll give you a couple of seconds here if you want to join, and we can have that discussion. Angry Conservative said, give him a minute. Okay. We'll see how long Angry Conservative take. You might be putting on a shirt or baby oil. I don't know. But nonetheless, we're going to press on, family, because these are the type of things that kind of deflects us from staying on code and really focusing on justice, reparations, the things that the Black community needs. All right. I see I have Angry Conservative in the room. Let me invite him up. What's going on, Angry Conservative? Say that again. Angry Conservative, you're live. And you're not muted. Angry Conservative, you're live. Going once, going twice. Angry Conservative, you have to unmute yourself. In order to speak, angry conservative, you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
should be able to hear me now.
Yes,
I
go
was
ahead.
trying to first, like I said in the chat, most Republicans are just as corrupt as Democrats. They are just two wings of the same bird. That I do not, because I want America first, people. I want America first, people in Congress.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. I'm not trying to be combative, just to lay the groundwork. Why did you direct your comment as I was stating to defund all the police?
Because I follow Ricky Manor. I know who you are, young man. I have actually seen some of the things you said in chat, and I will apologize that when I said that, what most conservatives want is to get the corruption out of our federal government. And the FBI is just as corrupt as the CIA, but with me, I've seen most local police departments with where I'm at actually cater to more black people than they do to the majority of the population where I live. So what's that tell you?
What does that mean when you say cater to black folk?
I've actually seen a black man get pulled over going 30 over the speed limit. The cop actually gives him a ticket for 10 miles an hour over, and I've seen a white man do the same thing, and he gets put in jail by the same person.
Angry conservative. So you're saying with your 2-hour research and your very anecdotal example that you've seen one black person get.
I've seen it more than just one. I'm not
saying it more than once. Okay.
I've seen it more than once. I'm not.
So you're saying that black people get preferential treatment from the police?
Where I live, yes.
Where do you live at again? You don't have to tell me your address, but what area?
Alabama.
You live in?
Yes, I live in Alabama.
Are you trolling me, angry conservative?
No, I am not. I'm not trolling you.
What's the nearest big city near you?
Atlanta, Georgia. It's about 3.5 hours away from me.
No, I'm talking about as far as Alabama's concerned. Like, are you near Huntsville, Mobile?
I would probably be closer to Mobile.
So you're stating that black people near you get preferential treatment from the police?
Yes. I've seen it over and over.
Okay, let's go back a little bit. Let's track back a little bit because you stated a comment. I'm gonna put it on the screen for everybody to see. We want to defund the corruption that is in the FBI. It doesn't mean that we want to defund all police like you do when you say to defund the police. Now, are you stating earlier that you misspoke and that you were speaking out your emotions?
Yes, I misspoke with that comment. Yes.
Oh, okay. So what do you believe I believe since you made that comment?
I honestly I don't know exactly what you think because I haven't watched you a whole lot lately because it's been chaotic where I'm at. What I honestly think, because and I want to ask you something about that. When with everything that I've seen from certain people on left and right, don't get me wrong, I know there's corruption in police department, but we also need to get all these unions away from this because the unions are protecting all the bad teachers, all the bad cops, all the bad employees, because that's what they're there for.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. Do you believe that the police need to be decreased in their funding or their population?
Depend on where it's at.
Give me an example.
New York City. They decreased their funding and crime's higher now than it was in the 90s. So, what do you think? It depends on where you're at.
Okay.
And
Well, we have another caller. We see the common denominators walked in the room. Common denominator, you have any comments or replies according to the topic? You're on mute. Common denominator, you're on mute. Maybe he's still getting himself together.
But can I ask a question? When
Sure,
you
go ahead.
When you put the thing up, cut the check. What if I told you, if you want me to show, I will show my face. I can prove from my lineage, I've had two slaves in the United States, what is now the United States. So does that check cut for me because I'm a white man?
Now, when you say you had two slaves, what are you trying to
My
convey?
my ancestors, my two-time great-grandfathers on both sides were slaves in the United States. One was Irish, one was Italian.
Okay, where they were slaves at again?
They were slaves up. One was in New York, one was in Louisiana.
Are you getting them mixed up with indentured servitude?
They weren't indentured servants. They didn't get paid for what they did.
So you're basically saying they were shackled and bonded and could not leave?
Yes.
Where's your proof?
Where's my proof?
Yeah.
The records that I have. I don't have them on this computer, but I have records showing that they were slaves. Before the Civil War.
What year was their slavery?
Right around the 1820s to until the end of slavery in what is now the United States.
So you're stating the same time that Africans that were enchained and enslaved and brought over here during the transatlantic slave trade, and during that time in the early 1800s, that there was
The Irish and the Italians were the same way. Yes.
Irishmen that was also shackled beside these African slaves. Is that what you're stating?
I didn't say they were shackled right beside them. I said they were slaves. They could not leave. And Financial Literacy 101, I'm going to ask this question.
Sure.
Do you know who was the first legally who was the first slave owner in what is now the United States? And I'm going to give the 1619 Project a little credit on this because they are right. It was around the year 1619.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who that man was?
Please indulge us with this information.
The name is Anthony Johnson. He was an indentured servant that came here in the before 1619. He was indentured servant. He got a cotton farm, and one of the people that he brought over to work his farm, and legally.
What was Anthony Johnson's race?
He was a black man.
So in 1619,
thereabouts, it's right in this. It's around 1620 in the 1620s. So
okay,
yes.
So let's say 1620s. Okay, because now the history of 1619, there was 20 enslaved Africans brought to Jamestown, Virginia. We had that information, but you're stating sometime. Let me finish. Sometime in the early 1620s, that there was a black man named Anthony Johnson. That alone raises red flags because we did not have European names at the time, sir. That's a European name.
He changed his name legally.
He changed his name in an enslaved state where he also had slaves as well.
Actual name. I don't know what his actual name was. It does not give that history, but the actual history of Mr. Johnson. That wasn't his actual last name. He was actually in records, in the records that can be pulled up. He was actually called Anthony the Negro. So please, you don't believe me? You don't believe it?
It's not a matter of belief, sir. It's a matter of the claims that you're making that sound
I'm not making
outlandish.
false claims, my friend. There's been articles written by black people. There are articles written by black people actually saying this to be fact.
Well, sir, if you really want to know the history of slavery, especially even prior to the country being established, is back in 1529. Did you know that?
So you're saying because the English settlers didn't come over here until after the 1600s. So what you're saying is people that you're fighting for, indigenous people of these lands, own slaves? So it wasn't the white man's fault? So
I think I'm really getting trolled, but I'll take this time to actually hold on for a second. Hold on. I think I'm actually getting trolled, but I'll educate you on this just so you'll know what I'm referring to. Okay, so let's do that. Let me go over here. I'm gonna share my screen. And hopefully you can still see this. Now, I'm just going to go very quickly here. Before 1619, there was 1526, the mystery of the first enslaved Africans and what became the United States. Okay. It goes back and says that the country is marking the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the first enslaved Africans to the English colony of Jamestown. The significance of their arrival cannot be overstated. From the moment onward, slavery existed in the colonies that became the United States in an unending chain until the passage of the 13th Amendment nearly 250 years ago. Okay, they go on to state here, if you look back, by the early 1520s, nearly all the indigenous people in the Spanish colony of Hispaniola were dead. Enslaved Africans were brought in to replace them in the backbreaking search for gold that was getting harder and harder to find. Okay. Go down here, the scouts return with details of the coastline of what is now South Carolina and Georgia, and something else, 70 indigenous people, they had been abducted and enslaved. So again, this is the Europeans enslaving African people prior to 1619. Does that help you, sir?
I want to ask this question.
Sure.
So because you watch Mr. Ricky Manor from time to time.
Indeed.
So you're saying he's incorrect when he says that slavery, the black slaves that are here are actually indigenous to the Americas. So you're saying that they survived them boat trips because Ricky has just did it not too long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, a stream where he says slavery, the slaves on the boats never happened.
So what is your question towards me?
So are you saying that he's wrong about them facts, or with his facts about slavery actually not being
I'm stating both are true. I'm stating that enslaved Africans were brought here, whether they was by ships or by boats, whatever you want to call them, and that there were already black people here when those Africans showed up. There were dark melanated people that was indigenous to the land already here. If you trace the roots back from the Moors, that was the first explorers of the world, then you will understand that history. But again, that's a lot more we'll have to cover. Now, if Ricky Manor is stating that no slaves came over on a ship.
That's what he said.
And listen here, I'm not here to go against that information, I'm stating my truth. I'm not in a debate with Ricky Manor.
Because it just seems off. It just seems like when things get proven against certain classes of people, it just seems they throw it back. And I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I understand all that. So Jamestown was after 1526. The mystery of the first enslaved Africans and what. So you want to go back, what? How many generations is that? How many generations is that between you and the people in 1526? How many generations?
Let's cut through the white supremacy. Do you support reparations or not for descendants of American slaves, for foundational Black Americans?
Why should I have to pay for them? I didn't own slaves. I have ancestors that were slaves in the United States. So why should I? Why should I have?
Sir,
how does the federal government?
Sir, you're already paying reparations to a group already.
It's called. If you're Black and you want to go to college, it's called affirmative action. Just saying.
So affirmative action only assists Black people.
It helps more Black people than it does whites.
Prove it.
What percentage of the population is Black in the United States?
Around anywhere from 15 to 16%.
What percentage of Black people go to college?
So you're asking me questions to get information?
I already know these. I've already know these answers. What percentage?
So now you're quizzing me.
No, I'm just asking you. You said 15 to 16.
What I'm noticing here is anytime I ask you to prove it, you deflect the argument.
I don't have to prove it. If you want the information,
you don't have to prove it, but you can ask me questions. That makes sense.
But what percentage of college students are Black?
Sir, I'm no longer going to answer your questions if you can't answer mine.
No, I do not support reparations for one simple fact. I will have to pay for them.
The federal government doesn't get money. Already paid for reparations for a particular group.
That was before.
No, you're still paying reparations to a particular group to this day, sir.
All right, tell me, who am I paying reparations to?
The Native Americans. You're still paying reparations to the Native Americans. Did you know that?
So I'm also paying reparations to the Irish, to the all the countries we give money to.
To the Jews as well.
But I'm paying all of them. But I don't even think they should all get it. So why would I go against my belief that no one?
Sir, because at the end of the day, sir, you're literally already paying reparations for Native Americans.
I don't believe.
For foundational Black Americans.
But I don't think should have to pay reparations to
but you're
those
already
people.
paying it. But you're already paying it.
Actually, with the Native Americans, the only ones that get the money from the federal government are the actual ones that are poor that actually took the money when they did the Trail of Tears. That's not my fault.
No, sir. I guess I have to bring receipts with you because you do not do your research or homework, but that's fine. I'll bring receipts.
But I shouldn't have to pay reparations to any of them. I shouldn't have to pay any taxes to anybody except for my state.
But sir, you're against reparations for foundational Black Americans, but you are not against reparations for Jews.
I'm against
or Native
reparations
Americans.
for everyone. I'm against
So, let me ask you
reparations
this.
paying to the Native Americans, to the Jewish, to all of them. I do not think any of that money that we pay the federal government should go to them. So how am I going against my own word? I do not believe.
I can also bring up the federal legislation that breaks down the amount of money that these over 500 federally recognized tribes receive. Would you like that as well?
No, I know they're federally recognized. I know they get money. I know they get taxpayer. But I don't believe they should.
That money's for? What do you think that money is for that these Native Americans do not work for? Right? Because again, hold on.
I don't believe any of them should get it.
Hold on, sir. To your point, the current Native Americans who are receiving reparations from this government are not the Native Americans that the white man killed off hundreds of years ago. But you are still paying taxes, meaning you are still paying Native Americans reparations. And what about the Jewish people? The Jewish people who, while Obama was in office, as well as Biden is in office, have been paid reparations from this government. You are already funding reparations for two other groups.
Like I said, I don't believe we should pay reparations to any of them. Yeah, the thing about it, they can say this land is stolen. That is their right to say that. But this land wasn't stolen. They fought for this land. The people before us fought for this land, but beat the Native Americans, the indigenous people, whatever you want to call them, whatever is the politically correct term, the Native Americans, whatever it may be. They lost the battles. That's not my fault. That's not your fault. We should not have to pay them reparation because the federal government thinks they stole land from Native Americans. The land was taken over. So if that's the case, if America's stolen land, then every place in the world is stolen land. So why does it really matter? I don't think the Native Americans should get any reparations. I don't think the Jewish people should get reparations. I don't think the Middle Eastern countries should get reparations for what we've done. That's their own fault. That's my belief. That's why I don't support giving reparations to black people. Maybe for 100 years, and this is just me throwing something out, maybe for 100 years, if you can prove that that one of your ancestors was a slave, you have to be able to prove it. For 100 years, your family does not pay taxes whatsoever. You can get that generational wealth and move on.
Let me just ask a defining question. Are you stating that you are up for reparations for 100 years of not paying taxes, or actually the U.S. government paying us a check, giving us a check, so to speak?
I do not want my money going toward reparations for anyone. That includes the Native Americans, to the Jewish people, to whoever.
So you're stating, hold on, you're stating the same country that has built over $16 trillion in wealth on the backs of slaves, that built this country under bondage, chained, being killed, hung, burned, that their descendants is not deserving of reparations. Is that what you're stating?
You would have had your reparations.
Where's your lineage
you would have had your
lineage from? Where's your lineage from?
My lineage? I'm Italian and Irish and Italian.
Irish and Italian.
It's about, both of them about right around 40% each. And then I'm a mutt for the rest of it.
Okay. So you come from a lineage of plundering and plunder and stealing and taking over, which is not yours. That's the lineage you come from, correct?
So wouldn't the same thing be said for the Romans, and everybody else. I didn't steal anything. What I have is what I've worked for.
I didn't say you, sir. I said that's the lineage you came from, correct?
But we've also been enslaved. The Irish and the Italians have both been enslaved in this country. So please.
I think you keep mixing up indentured servitude.
No, they were not indentured servants. They did not get paid.
Okay.
And they were on there for over 30 years.
Let's break it down, then, sir. Let's break it down. Were these Italians and Irishmen shackled? Were they chained and they could not?
Do you actually have to be shackled and chained to be a slave?
Sir,
do you actually? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I haven't gone back all the way to see I don't have the pictures to show if they were shackled and chained. They were brought over here on ships because they were. My great grandfather, both of them were criminals at the time, so they were brought over here because they were enslaved to pay off their service
sounds like indentured servitude. It doesn't seem like they were taken from their country. They were taken from their continent forcibly, shackled, chained, and stacked in ships. They came over here to pay off a debt. That's indentured servitude, sir.
But so being not getting paid for from the time you're 21 until the time you die at the age of 60, that's indentured servitude?
Sir, you just contradicted yourself. You said they were brought over here to pay off their debt. That's indentured servitude. They were not taken from Ireland. They were not taken from Italy against their choice. They wasn't beaten and battered and killed and raped and hung and burnt. They were not.
You know that they were put on this continent to pay off their debt, but to do it for 30 or 40 years.
Do you know how long slavery lasted in America, sir, for Foundation Block Americans?
So if it was 1526, about 350 years.
Okay. And how long did these Irish and Italian men were enslaved, so to speak?
About the same amount of time. Because they've actually.
I think you're trolling me. I really do think you're trolling me, sir.
No, I'm not trolling you.
There's no.
Because
there's
been Irish. There was Irish and Italians here around the same time the first black people got here, according to your research. They've been here just as long, and there's been more deaths with the Italians and the Irish than blacks, because blacks cost more to actually get. I'm just saying. But you do not want to admit that white people were just enslaved, and for the most part, slavery's never ended in this country. So,
according to the Constitution, you're correct, but you contradicted yourself, sir, and that has voided your entire argument when you said that those Irishmen were brought over here to pay off a debt. That is literally the definition of indentured servitude. We can go down the line, sir. I'm just trying to bring you receipts. I want to know where your information coming from. You're stating that 1526, when the first enslaved Africans were brought over here by the Spanish conquistadors, that it was Irish people already here. Are you stating that, sir? Again, please provide proof. Give me some context. Give me some information where you can prove your claims to be right versus trying to troll me. Do you have any other comments, sir?
No, sir, I don't. But
all right, sir. I bid you a good day. All right, everyone. When according to this raid, FBI, Donald Trump, there's going to be a lot of people that essentially come out the woodwork and try to defend this whole term, defund the FBI. I look at defund the FBI just as well as I look at defund the police. They go hand in hand because they are both part of law enforcement. So either you are a liberal, conservative, Republican, or Democrat. White supremacy operates on both sides of a white supremacy bird, no matter the wing. Enjoy hump day.